Maurice Norman. Stone in the spine, steel in the tackle, silence in the legacy, weight in every breath. He didn't shout, he didn't pose, he didn't chase the cheer. He just stood in the fire, in the storm, in the spaces where others broke. He didn't lift the badge, he protected it. No chaos, no theater, just presence, just grit, just the unshakable belief that the man behind matters more than the name in front. They called him the gentle giant, but there was nothing soft about the way he ended a run. He didn't lead with speeches, he led with silence, with timing, with scars he never showed. While others ran forward, he stayed. When others fell, he held. A double, a European trophy, a place at the World Cup, and still no statue, no chant, no lap of honor, just a broken leg that ended everything, and a silence football never knew how to fill. Maurice Norman, the man who gave his body to the badge and disappeared without asking to be remembered. Subscribe if you still believe the game should honor the ones who held it together while the world looked the other way. He was born on May 8, 1934, in Mulbarton, Norfolk, a village of wind, work, and silence. No scouts waited on corners, no dream carved in headlines. Just a boy who grew taller than most and learned to hold his ground early. Maurice Norman didn't chase football. It found him in the spaces where strength and stillness were worth more than noise. At 18, he signed for Norwich City. No promise, no glamour, just a contract and the expectation to do the job well. From 1952 to 1955, he made 35 league appearances for the Canaries. Nothing flashy, nothing soft, just clearances, tackles, clean boots, and a reputation for never folding. And somewhere in North London, Bill Nicholson took notice. Because Spurs weren't looking for stars, they were looking for structure. In November 1955, Tottenham paid £28,000, a serious fee at the time, to bring him south. No parade, no press conference, just a long-legged 21-year-old walking into White Hart Lane like a man who already understood what it meant to carry weight. He didn't smile for the camera, didn't make promises, he just got on with it. Started at right back, dependable, strong, quiet. But Nicholson saw something else. A spine, a wall. Within a year, he moved Norman to centre half and never moved him again. Because Norman didn't need time to adapt. He just stood there like he'd been waiting his whole life to fill that space. Before the trophies, before the headlines, before the team became legends, Maurice Norman was already in place, doing the job that let everyone else go forward. Bill Nicholson didn't build a team. He built a machine. And at its center, he placed a man who never asked to be seen. Maurice Norman became the core. No roar, no slogans, just structure, just trust. He didn't speak often in the dressing room, but when he stepped onto the pitch, everyone followed his silence. He played beside Dave Mackay, all fire, all fury. He played behind Danny Blanchflower, all rhythm, all mind, and between them stood Norman, still, measured, immovable. He didn't dive into tackles. He waited, he didn't chase forwards. He cut off their path before they knew they were running into him. Some defenders played for the moment, he played for the 90th. He read the ball like it left fingerprints in the air. Knew where danger would go before it had a name. No flair, no panic, just steel. He wasn't fast, he didn't need to be. Because timing beats speed and position beats panic. By 1958, Spurs fans weren't just aware of him, they trusted him. He made the England squad for the 1958 World Cup, but never played a game. Journalists barely wrote about him. Opponents barely got past him. And Nicholson? He made Norman the first name on the team sheet. Because when your team is built to attack, you need one man who never moves when the chaos comes. Maurice Norman wasn't just the defender. He was the permission for everyone else to play without fear. 1960 to 61. Tottenham Hotspur made history. League champions, FA Cup winners. The first team of the 20th century to complete the double. The names echoed Greaves, Mackay, Blanchflower, White. But at the heart of that team stood Maurice Norman, ever present, ever ready, ever still. He played 30 league matches that season, clean, consistent, unshakable. Not one moment of glory chasing. Just the man who made sure no one had to look back. He didn't make headlines, he made space. Bill Nicholson, speaking years later, said, "You didn't have to tell Maurice anything twice. He was already in the right place physically and mentally." While the crowd rose for the goals, Norman kept the shape, kept the tempo steady, kept the system breathing. Every time the opposition broke, he was there. Not flying into tackles, but ending attacks before they could even take shape. He formed the spine with Mackay's grit and Blanchflower's brain. And behind them all, Norman's calm held everything together. In the 1961 FA Cup final at Wembley, Spurs beat Leicester City 2-0. The victory was clean, dominant, controlled. And Norman, flawless. No slip, no lapse, no theatrics. He didn't kiss the badge. He didn't lift the cup above his head like it was for him. He just stood at the back, the last line. The one no one sang for, but everyone depended on. That season made Spurs immortal. But immortality needs a foundation. And that foundation was Maurice Norman. 1962-63. Tottenham Hotspur crossed a threshold from English excellence to European pioneers. That season, they tore through the European Cup Winners' Cup with pace, power, and class. In 1962, he wasn't just in the squad he played through the heart of England's campaign, but power is nothing without a backbone. And Maurice Norman? He was that spine again. Spurs defeated Rangers, Slovan Bratislava, and OFK Beograd to reach the final. Each tie was brutal. European football was no exhibition. It was elbows, ice, and unfamiliar rhythms. And through every leg home or away, Norman stood tall, quiet, ruthless, organized. In May 1963, Tottenham faced Atletico Madrid in the final at De Kuip Stadium, Rotterdam. Under the lights, with 45,000 watching, Spurs delivered a masterclass, 5-1. Greaves scored twice. White, Dyson, and Jones added the rest. But none of it could have happened without the stillness at the back. Maurice Norman marshaled the defense like a general without medals. Not a single forward got space. Not a single ball dropped uncontrolled. Reporters barely mentioned him, but Nicholson knew. After the match, Bill Nicholson was asked what made Spurs great. He said, "They knew their jobs." And Norman, he never failed his. Maurice played all 9 games in that campaign. Every round, every minute, every battle. When Spurs lifted the trophy, they didn't hand it to him. He didn't ask. Because Norman never played for the photo. He played for the clean sheet. And as the cameras caught Greaves smiling and Blanchflower waving, Norman walked quietly to the dressing room. No drama, no spotlight, just history and the man who helped make it possible. He didn't chase England. He earned it the same way he earned everything else, by standing still when others fell. Maurice Norman made his England debut in 1962, and they never looked back. He became a regular under Walter Winterbottom and then under Alf Ramsey, who trusted him like Nicholson did. No flash, no questions. Just a man who could handle any forward without losing his calm. In 1962, Norman was selected for the FIFA World Cup in Chile. He played every minute. England reached the quarter-finals. They were beaten by Brazil, the eventual champions, but Norman's performances stood tall against Garrincha, against Vava, against the heat and chaos of Santiago. 23 England caps, no mistakes, no scandals, no ego. He was the kind of player England needed more of and would soon lose. Because in November 1965, during a friendly between Spurs and Hungary, disaster struck. Norman went in for a challenge. Clean, committed like always. But this time, his leg snapped in 2 places. Double fracture, tibia and fibula, shattered. The game stopped. The stadium fell silent. It wasn't just a leg that broke, it was a career. Maurice Norman never played again. He was 31 years old, still dominant, still trusted, still expected to be in England's squad for the 1966 World Cup, the tournament that came and went without him. England lifted the trophy, Bobby Moore became immortal, Ramsey became a knight. Maurice Norman faded into silence. No testimonial, no farewell tour, just a stretcher, a quiet recovery, and the long ache of a job unfinished. But those who watched him, those who stood beside him, never forgot. Because before England had more, they had Norman. And the only reason he wasn't part of that photograph in '66 was because football sometimes breaks the ones who hold it up the best. When the boots came off, there was no ceremony, no backpage tributes, no floodlights dimmed in his honor. Just silence. Maurice Norman didn't chase coaching jobs, didn't sit on panels, didn't beg for a seat at football's top table. He returned to Norfolk, a quiet man in quiet fields, carrying a legacy none could deny. His leg never healed, but he endured the pain in silence. With his wife, he opened Needlewoman, a small shop built on the same quiet resolve he brought to the pitch. He made a living outside the game, built a life, raised a family, kept his memories sharp, but never wore them like medals. In time, the game started remembering. Spurs fans began to whisper his name again. Old teammates, old opponents they never forgot. Dave McKay once said, "Maurice was the one behind us, making sure we could go forward. If you didn't notice him, it's because he did his job too well." For decades, Norman stayed out of sight. No autobiography, no punditry. Just a man who had once held the line and didn't need to prove it again. In 2002, he was inducted into the Norwich City Hall of Fame, a small gesture, but a fitting one. The place where it began, acknowledging the one who went further than anyone imagined. Then came the illness, dementia, cruel, slow, unfair. The same mind that read the game was slowly stolen from him, but even then he was remembered with respect. Fans sent letters, old match reports resurfaced, clips of his tackles, his stillness, his presence all began to circulate again, not viral, not loud, but real. On November 27, 2022, Maurice Norman passed away. He was 88 years old. No front-page headlines, no global mourning. Just a soft wave through the Spurs community, a ripple for a man who had once been the spine of their greatest team. Tottenham Hotspur released a statement. A gentle giant, a double winner, a player of immense strength and quiet dignity. That was Maurice Norman. From first tackle to final breath. The club paid tribute before a match. His name on the screen. Applause in the stadium. Some fans stood. Many just closed their eyes and remembered. Those who knew, they knew. They remembered how he'd stood in the fire, how he never asked to be remembered, how he never needed to. Because true greatness doesn't need banners. It doesn't need statues. It just needs time. And with time, the truth rose again. That without Maurice Norman, there is no double, no European glory, no golden era. There is no Tottenham spine without the man who never let it crack. Some players leave with fireworks, others with fanfare. Maurice Norman left like he played without a sound, but impossible to forget. He was never the headline, but he made the headlines possible. The double, the European trophy, the rise of a new kind of English football. And yet, no statue outside White Hart Lane. No chant echoing across decades, no mural painted in club colors. But maybe that's fitting. Because Maurice Norman didn't need tribute. He was tribute to an era when presence mattered more than posing, when steel was quiet and greatness didn't demand attention. 411 appearances for Spurs, 23 caps for England, 1 shattered leg, 1 unbreakable legacy. When you watch old footage, he's not the one scoring. He's the one stopping it all from falling apart, and that's what made him immortal. He was the line, the last wall, the reason others could go forward without fear. And for every defender who ever stayed calm, every player who played for the badge instead of the name Maurice Norman was already there. Not loud, not flashy, just there. And now, he's gone. But in the silence he left behind, you can still hear the strength, the discipline, the courage of a man who never asked for your applause, only your trust. And he earned it. Subscribe if you believe football must honor the ones who held the line before their story fades forever.